Hello, Beth, and whoever else may come on here. If you are here, if you'd put a comment in, that would help me to know that you're here with me. Gary and I were about to start. He was sitting right here, but he's not now because he has to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and that is just so early. And we started preparing for this Facebook Live about an hour ago, and we just now sat down to really do it, and and he realized it was 10:30, and we did I said a little prayer as we were about to get started, and as he closed his eyes to pray, he kind of fell asleep. So at that point, we knew that he needed to just go on to bed. So he is going on to bed, and I said, I will just go on by myself. Hi, Lisa. Thank you for coming on. And Elizabeth should be coming on too. I had told her, Lisa, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I was thinking about everything under the sun, and I didn't think to warn you, but you found out anyway. So thank you for joining us. Me. It was going to be us, but Gary is too tired. He has to get up so early. Hey, that looks familiar. You text me that all the time, and it's so good to see you, Lisa. See your little smiley face. But I thought I would just go ahead by myself this time, and then tomorrow night, hopefully Gary and I can get started early enough that he can be awake and alert enough that Lee bends. Well, thank you, Lee, for coming on. We were going to talk a little bit more about the marriage retreat. It's so hard to tell which way things are on this TV, on this camera. It was called Come Away Marriage Retreat that Hal and Melanie, I know them, Hal and Melanie Young offered and did for people who wanted to go to a marriage retreat in North Carolina and the Smoky Mountains. Beth, you're here, and Linda and April. Well, thank you all for joining. Wow. We figured it was too late for many people to be here anyway. They have written, Hal and Melanie Young wrote this book called My Beloved and My Friend. And I had wanted to get a hold of it for a long time. And I get their newsletter, their email newsletter, Hal and Melanie. And I saw that they were having this marriage retreat. I'm not used to this camera. I use Periscope a lot, but I haven't used Facebook Live very often. So we went to that in October, the end of October, right on his birthday, October 22nd, and we learned a lot from that retreat. And then I bought this book while we were there, and I've been reading it, and it covers some of the same material and topics that they talked about. And one thing that Gary and I wanted to really talk about tonight, which I will hit on by myself without him, is like marriage as a mission. I see somebody gave me a thumbs up. Thank you. Marriage as a mission. And I started talking to him about the meaning of marriage and the purpose of marriage, that God wanted a family. I know a lot of us have heard that teaching, but if you really think through the whole meaning of family, and hey Beth, glad you made it. Gary, I told you, I texted you that Gary didn't make it. He fell asleep while we were praying before we were going to start, so we decided that maybe he was a little too tired to do this tonight, but we'll try to do it tomorrow. at an earlier time so he's not so tired. He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and by this time he needs to be asleep. So Minnie, thank you for joining. Wow, this is wonderful. And Josephine, my. Thank you all for coming on. It's just little old me right now, but Gary and I hopefully will come be here together tomorrow. But the meaning of marriage, from what the Bible tells us and what we have seen in our lives and in history and couples and what works out and the way, the biblical way that marriage works the best is, for a husband and wife to have children and only be faithful to each other, and that is the safest way for children. That's the best way for children to be raised. And God wanted us to raise up godly offspring for him. Our children are really his children. He is the one who creates people, who makes people. And our children belong to God. God is their father. And we have the privilege. God gives us the privilege of bearing them, taking care of them, teaching them, instructing them in his ways, hopefully leading our children to him, doing our best to do that anyway, modeling a godly life for our children, and doing it in a way that is winsome and attractive to them so that they want to live godly lives too, and in a way that is peaceful and joyful as much as we can. We need to, if we're going to strive for anything in our marriages and relationships, we should strive to have peace among ourselves, and in our marriage relationship as couples, keep our connection strong and do things that attract our mate and keep our mate attracted to us, and not be in competition with each other, comparing who does the most, or Kyla, oh man, this is fun. Thank you all for coming on. I sure appreciate you checking out what's going on here with little old me, little old Penny. It was going to be Penny and Gary, but tomorrow night, earlier than this time of night, Gary can probably join me and we'll talk a little more. He's the husband of the two of us, and I'm the wife, and I can really only give my perspective, but I really want to encourage men and women to make their marriage a priority. We have 10 kids, and I homeschool our kids, and my kids are one of my most important priorities in my life. But even at that, Gary has to be my highest priority. And I have not always kept that as it should be in the proper order. And I've had to readjust my thinking, and the Lord has readjusted my thinking many times. I have pretty much made my kids an idol, and I've had to change the way I was thinking and the way I was doing things. And I can't make Gary my idol either. I always have to have God first. And sometimes I forget to do that, and I get in trouble when I do that. And I've heard other people say they have kind of gone back and forth between, their husband, especially maybe the early years, you put the husband in first place above God, and that's wrong. And then you have children, and you put them in first place over your husband and over God, and that's wrong. And so the balance is God first. He should be first in our lives as women. God should be first, and the desire to please him and to spend time with him and get to know him. That should be our top priority. And then our husband after God. And that is very important. Spending time with him, loving him, keeping the connection strong, keeping the relationship fresh. And, there are many different ways of doing that. As people in psychology talk these days, there are tools that help you to maintain a good, strong relationship and a good connection. But one of the things I learned from reading this book, Keep Your Love On by Danny Silk, that I had kind of lost track of through years of lots of interesting things. Really a lot of times scary, and feelings of loss and failure, and not doing this whole marriage thing or family thing very well, or not doing life very well, not feeling very successful, has thank you for joining, Sue, have made some of those earlier years seem like they were cakewalk, and loving him and being a loving wife was in some ways easier then, even though we had to get to know each other and we had plenty of struggles in that. But Kerwin said that. Well, thank you, Kerwin. I keep you smiling. Thank you. I'll try to keep smiling myself too. And I know what you think. What you think of me, and that really keeps me smiling. That's really a wonderful thing. But in this book, Keep Your Love On, he made the point that Danny Silk, the author, made the point that everything we do, we should do out of love. And in our marriage, that means everything we do out of love for us wives. We do out of love for our husband. And I had kind of gotten away from that for a while. I'd gotten a little jaded. I'd gotten a little tired of some things, and maybe a little bit cranky about some things that I thought should be different, especially after 20 years of my trying to change him and correct him a little bit, maybe. And he wouldn't be corrected, and he wouldn't change. I got you smiling now, haven't I? And so finally, when I read this book 2 years ago, I think it was, and I saw that I was supposed to be doing things, everything I did really, out of love for him and care and concern about what was best for him, and not myself, and not caring about or trying to get my own needs met, trying to get him to meet my needs. Ooh, it was a slap in the face, and it really made me think differently. And I didn't do it even perfectly even then, but he really stresses how we need to keep the connection strong, even though our personalities are so different. And after 29 years of things that irk you still happening, and he's still doing those same things the same way, and I wasn't able to change him. Things that I thought before we got married, and when we first got married, oh, he'll change, that will change, like the playing games. Hi, Anna, thank you for joining me. And Julie, this is so fun. Thank you all my friends for coming on here. So after a while, you can get kind of tired of trying to change somebody who's refusing to change. And, you still kind of hold to, well, that's not right what they're doing. it would be better. Things would be easier if he would not do that anymore or not say that way anymore. But men and women are just different. And I've found, it's taken me a while, and I've had 10 kids to learn this from. Everybody sees things so differently. I will notice something as we're driving along, and I'll think, well, it's really obvious, that car has that funny thing on it, or that sign said something funny, and I'm thinking everybody in the car notices the same thing I just noticed, and I'll say, oh, look at that, and they'll be what? And they'll be looking on the other side, and they didn't even see it at all. To me, it was just like obvious, that, wow, that is really attention getting. For them, they didn't even see it. And as I have gone through a lot of things with my 10 children and my husband and other people, and I've realized how differently we see things, how we notice different things, what impresses us, how we perceive and understand things are just we're all so different from each other. And a husband and a wife are probably going to be very different in how they perceive things, how they understand things. And that sometimes makes it very hard to relate to each other. And we have to just be patient and keep on being patient, even after 29, 39, 49 years, and still loving and still doing the best that we can to do everything we do out of love for them and concern and care for them, not for ourselves, and not trying to get them to meet our needs or our standards or our ways of seeing things and doing things. It's probably not going to happen. I hate to break that to any of us, but trying to change our spouse is probably not going to happen. And criticizing is probably not going to be very good, have very good results. And one thing I was talking to Gary about before we almost went on together was how it means so much to me whenever we go to a marriage conference like the one we went to, or I hear someone saying, this is Hal and Melanie, my beloved and my friend, how we should be friends with each other as well as lovers. And but whenever I ask him the question, what could I do better? What do I need to change, or what would help you? What can I do that will help you? What better things? What more things can I do that will help you to feel better about me? Or I can't even remember the wording of it, but whatever I said, he took a while. He was thinking, and I was like, you can't even think of one? And he said, no, there's just so many. And that was, he has said things like that through the years when I've said, well, what do I need to change to make things better for us as a couple, for you? And he has said nothing. There's nothing that you need to change. And he really, that's what he really feels. It must be, because I don't think he can come up with that answer every time. And I know it's not because I'm perfect. It's just that's how he keeps looking at me. So that's just how he is, and I need to be that way too. And so I encourage us all as married couples, do all that we can to see the best in our mate and keep that love alive, keep that connection strong, and continue to be selfless, no matter how long you're together and how much your husband or wife keeps doing those things that irritate you and make you think, well, they're not even trying to make me like them or love them or whatever. They've just given up trying. Just make yourself see them as the person that you couldn't live without before you got married. And then, just remind yourself and ask the Lord to help you remember how you felt at that time, and remind you of the good things they do now. And a lot of times we get our eyes on the things that bother us and the things that we think, well, that's rude, that's inconsiderate, I need this, I need help with that, and why isn't he seeing that I need help with this or that? Well, it's good to communicate, and it's good to let them know the things that we need, and what we're feeling and things like that. But we should really be careful not to let ourselves feel so frustrated, and I'm preaching to myself, or get negative about them, and or tear them down in any way. And the way that my husband has always been towards me has been, he's really never said anything negative. He's never criticized me. And that has helped me to feel really secure and confident and comfortable with him. And it's helped me to feel good about myself, and to just grow in so many ways. And so I just encourage all of us to keep that attitude. There's Abby. At all times. And no matter how long, it seems harder once you've been together a long time, you take each other for granted. And at least that's how it's been for me. And when you go through a lot of struggles and hard times, it can be. Beth, thank you, Beth, for coming. And Vicky, I can't believe this. Thank you all for coming on. It's so nice to see your names and know that you're here with me. But I've talked for 22 minutes, and that's probably as long as I should. That's my baby. She's 9 years old now. I can't believe she's that old. But marriage is such an important, Sherry, thank you for joining. Such an important institution in our society that's being attacked on all sides. Marriage between a husband and a wife, a male and a female, raising children together for the length, for as long as their children need them, which is their whole lives, and doing whatever it takes to stay together, and not just stay together bickering and squabbling, but loving each other and setting a good example so that our children want to grow up and have a good marriage, a good strong marriage. We just have to do our best to keep it first, keep it foremost, and the most sacred relationship that we have outside of our relationship with God, and unselfish all the time. And that is a challenge, and that's a challenge that I want to put before myself, and for all of you wonderful people who joined me tonight. Hi, Vicky. Oh my goodness. Now I wish I could see you too, like a Skype kind of thing, but it is great to see everyone who came on here tonight. Thank you for checking in to say hi and listen to what I have to say about marriage. Marriage is a huge, important thing that God established, started from the beginning, and there's a real purpose and meaning to marriage and to families staying strong and staying together. Yes, I'm glad you did too, Anna. I've seen you on a lot of different videos, and now you get to see me. We get to see each other, sisters. Anna, you're so amazing too. So that I've been on here a long time. If you want to watch the replay, you're welcome to do that. But I did talk a lot about the meaning of marriage, why God made marriage to begin with, and how we really need to fight for not only our own marriage, but we need to do what we can to help others in their marriages, to strengthen and encourage men and women to stay together and make the best marriage they possibly can, and have a strong family and strong family identity, for the sake of their own, emotional health and just life, just a good life. A good marriage causes a good life, and for the children to, and a better society is really what comes of good, strong marriages. So that is what I wanted to say. And then tomorrow night, earlier than this, Gary and I are going to try to come on and talk together some more about marriage. So please join us then. Thank you for the hearts. And I don't know who is still here, but I sure appreciate everyone who came on. It was fun seeing you all. And try to pay attention to my page tomorrow. I'll announce ahead of time when Gary and I will come on here together, when he's still awake and not falling asleep during our prayer time. Good night, everyone.